right. Couldn't access his Facebook easily, so I battled yesterday. Temba got his fourth child and he filled the data in the birth certificate. He wrote mother, Xhosa, father, Zulu, and child, Chinese. And the Home Affairs official said, how come you wrote Chinese when both parents are black? Ah, said Temba. I read in the newspaper that every fourth person born in the world is now Chinese. Tonight, we continue our conversation we started last night. So you can call it Wisdom Wednesday, Take 2. Coach Thami Banda, our resident customer service coach, is back, and we pick up from where we left off. Last night, he helped us understand our customers by breaking them into 4 categories. Tonight, he's going to share strategies on how to handle those customers, and he also will answer your questions and respond to your comments. Welcome to Talk with Rams Live. We are on Facebook and Instagram, and you can also find us on YouTube. Please like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram, and indeed subscribe to our YouTube page. Thank you so much for choosing us. We guarantee you the best 30 minutes of digital content. Coach, good evening.
Mambo. Good evening, sir. How are
To
you?
you 2 nights back to back is flattering.
It's a privilege to me, and I really appreciate you and your lovely audience.
People pay to see you, man. Now I get you 2 nights back to back. It's like it's a privilege, man.
The honor is all mine, my brother, and to share good news of customer service in your platform is always a privilege.
Well, I will tell you this much. At least I'll say it public because I've told you before.
Yes.
You are very popular with our followers. They like you.
Thank you.
You know? The viewership always shoots up when we have you here. I don't know whether it's the whiskey or it's the content.
I suppose the balance of both would always be helpful.
the modesty helps too. Mambo, let's recap. Let's recap on the 4 categories of customers that we spoke about yesterday.
Well, yesterday we covered 4 categories of customers, and we spoke about the price buyers, we spoke about relationship buyers, and we looked at the value buyers, and we got into the poker players who are always looking at the balance between being a relationship buyer and the value buyer. So we highlighted that the price buyer is always looking at the best price at all times. The relationship buyer is looking for that loyalty to build the relationship with you and understand the value chain of everything that happens. And also the value buyer has got the same thing, but it doesn't have loyalty. What he just is interested in is what are the efficient issues that could produce this product for me quicker. And also the poker player, as we highlighted, is a person who is in between the value and the relationship buyer who pushes his luck to get the best price for the best quality.
You know, I meant to ask yesterday, but I mean, our content was just too hot and we kept on going for, we finished on a serious high, so there was no room for more engagement.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as a best customer? I mean, if you look at the 4 of them, is there a thing as, this is the best to have, this is the one I should wish for, in your view?
Don't take me back to the initial chat that we had, you and I, almost 2 years ago, that the definition of a customer is a potential investor in your business. Whenever you see one, you see a potential investor. The question is there a best investor? All investors are great because whenever they come through and spend that buck or invest that money, they are going to propel your business to another level. Is there anything as a best customer? All of them are, because what they do, either they teach you something that you should pick up in your set of service, or they will appreciate the things that you already know in your service. So all of them are critical for your business.
Okay. For some reason, your line is not as good as last night, but let's continue. There was a few break-ins there, but let's continue. I got you, and I'm hoping that everybody else got you. Don't panic. Okay. We're doing fine. One of the
All right.
reasons I mention it is to then let the viewers know that we are aware of it. But such is our lives now. Everybody must accept this is the life we lead now. It's no longer like switching on the radio and everything is smooth. We're listening
Yeah.
through the bandwidth, and that's what happens
Yes.
out there.
Yeah.
So let's again, before I get to the strategies,
Yeah.
do I have as a service provider, as a businessman, when I feel that my client, my customer, say is playing too much of a price, customer, and but I value them and I know that they support me, they're always there. Could I reach a point where I can move them from being a price customer to a value customer?
I was about to tell you that it's very easy to move them from one stage to the other. The most important thing is to say, when you have a customer that focuses on price critically all the time, the best thing that you must do is to be a step ahead of them. Always know what your customer purchases, always know what they're interested in. So whenever that stock arrives or that service is available, make the call first and say, hey, Thami, by the way, we've got that set of silk ties that we get from Italy, and they are at a very, very good price. When you have an opportunity, please swing by. I tried to change the supplier. When he walks in, you've already prepared him and mellowed him for the transaction that is going to take place. The problem about it is that all the time, we wait for the customer to make the first move, and then that's where we get to be on the back foot.
I see. So, Grant, or no, I've got this product, it's new on the market. In 2 months' time, this thing will be 40% extra. Get it now while it's still cheap, because they look always looking at the price.
There are two things that customers want to always pride themselves whenever they acquire a service. One, it's the sense of ownership. So it must be a limited product. Two, it's the fact that the price is attached to its luxury or to quality that it has. So whenever you play with those terms or those levers, you would always guaranteed make a sale. It might not be today, but that guy is going to come back for you.
Excellent. Okay, now let's talk about how then do I deal with my different customers? Because I don't know. I see them now that you've taught me, I'm going to be conscious of them. Now I know when a guy walks into my space, I know this guy is a price buyer. I know this one is a relationship buyer. I know my value buyer, and I know the poker player buyer. How do I then deal with them so that they are all satisfied by the time they get out, but most importantly, so that they come back next time?
Well, the first thing that we must look at, let's look at the price buyer as the guy that we started with yesterday. The first thing that you must do, you must always conduct extensive research and knowledge around your cost. So you must do a fair cost analysis. So what we normally call a stock price or a product acquisition price or a service acquisition price. What is it that informs your price? Those back-end points are critical to deal with the price buyer, because you will then know whether I am priced properly for the service that I am providing, or it should have been slightly below. Remember yesterday, we even highlighted the importance of competition. So you need to be in the space where you're almost smack closer to what the competition is about without compromising the quality that you produce. That's why in South Africa, for instance, we've got commissions such as the Competition Commission, which says, no, but you guys, the quality of the product you're producing is competitive and almost equal in its competition. Therefore, the price should also be looking at the same thing. So your cost analysis is very critical from the cost of sales perspective to the price that you're going to charge. The other thing that is also important is that, please, if you are not yet certain about the product you're going to sell and the price that you've set for it, please strip away all value adds. It's very important. So if in all times you were saying that we are selling tables and we assemble them and deliver them to you, probably remove the issue of assembling, but not remove the price, because that point of assembling is actually a cost to your business, even though it looks like added value to the consumer. Unless the consumer is willing to pay for the actual price, then you should have value add. When the person is not willing to pay for the actual price, value add should not be there. So you always have the bargain to play around with the offering that you've got. The last one, which is most critical, that every business person must have, have is the one that says, what is the settlement price? What we sometimes call in customer service, the walkaway price. So if my price or my product or my service is 10 rands per hour, what is actually my settlement price, where I say my costs are covered, I have made my profit margins, maybe I might not be able to make the buck for advertising in future from this sale, but the basics are covered for the business to survive. So if my product price was 10 rands, but I know that my walkaway price is 8 rands 50, you must always play around the point where you know that my walkaway price will not be below this.
Okay, so, but that won't that then encourage a situation where you have a price that is not genuine, where then you are now willing to keep on going down until you get to the genuine price?
Let me start by saying, Mambo, at all times, the price that you have is not always genuine. I'm glad I'm talking to business people here. The price that you have for your product or service is not always genuine. It is always informed by, but with the product that I'm offering or the service that I'm offering, there is always an extra rent to pay, because you believe in your product so much, but you also know how much you acquire for it. So let me give you an example with me, for instance. My greatest investment is in reading, time and reading, time and research informed by reading, right? And then also consumer insights. So I have to value the books, I have to value the time, I have to value the moment when I walk out to do consumer insights. All of that is informing the price. But I'm also aware that over time, there's experience I've gathered in customer service that if you ask me to come and speak to you about customer service, and we're not looking at 4 types of customers, we're just looking at customer service as a pillar in your business, I know exactly that, well, based on what I know and what I've built over the years, this is going to take me so long and the price would be this much. But when I started, it might have not been like that. So let me give you an example. Louis Vuitton, when they started into their product, they were just making bags. Now, when they make belts and they make watches and they make sunglasses, they are literally say, don't walk away with nothing, but we are still critical and crucial to what we've always provided before. And that's how you always know that there's always a base point for the price than the one that you pay for.
Excellent. Okay. So the relationship buyer, from the name on its own, it feels like I don't have too much to worry about with a relationship buyer. What is the best strategy to deal with this person?
Look, sometimes we take it for granted that because the person relates with us and has pledged loyalty, as we spoke earlier on about the relationship buyer last night, about the relationship buyer, we take it for granted that they will always be with us, as you say. But there is always an interesting thing about the relationship buyer. You must always develop an intimate knowledge of the prospect and concentrating on specific issues that they always want to address. Let me give you an example. I work in the whiskey industry as well, and my skills there on consumer. Sorry, let me sanitize. Right. So I'm involved in that industry as well. And one of the key things that I always do about consumer insights in it, and I know that I'm selling away some of the skill, but I won't tell a lot, is that which occasion is relevant for Rams to drink his whiskey. It's important for me to know that, because when those occasions are about to come by, guess who I need to call? Rams. So it's important for me that even though I already know that Rams consumes my brand, but I need to know when does he consume it? Why does he consume it? If Rams is consuming my brand when Pirates is about to clinch the league title and they only need 1 point and they have 3 games to go, when they win 1 game, I already know who to call next, because the next game is celebration about Rams. So I say, Rams, I've got an exclusive bottle of an 18-year-old expression X of this product. Please come through and enjoy your Macallan. By the way, I will throw in 2 glasses because I know you'll have a mate to enjoy the whiskey with. So developing that intimate knowledge that Rams is a Buccaneer, and as a Buccaneer, he's about to celebrate, it's critical for me.
Okay, but that example will probably happen once every 7 years, but I hear you. I think I get the point.
You are better with 7 years than the people that have been stuck on the other side of the Red Sea.
Oh man, I don't like this connection thing. It's really messing us up today. Anyway, so then let's deal with the value buyer.
All right. No. Two more points. We also need to focus on the relationship guy. We also need to focus on making the decisions that the customer are at the customer's best interest. So what is the best interest? Again, if we use the metaphor or the example of the game, it's at your best interest that you watch the game. How lovely will it be if we get to know that you are going to Orlando Stadium and the product will be delivered right there? It would be a precious thing for you, because if you are watching it at home and we deliver it at home, again, you'll appreciate the fact that you are not compromised on your experience of the occasion, right? So we need to meet you halfway on the experience of the occasion. So that is also critical for us. Now we can jump through to the value buyer, as you highlighted, unless you have a follow-on question.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Look, even a client that's got a good relationship with you, once or twice they'll have an area of dissatisfaction. Should I be worried about that?
An area of dissatisfaction with a loyal customer is not a concern in a negative way. It's positive criticism, because the level of relationship you have with the relationship buyer, remember the key word there is loyalty. So when he comes to you and he says, you know, your guys brought the bottle on time, but I was not impressed. The label was peeling off. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prarems. And I appreciate the fact that you brought this to our attention. We will check the whole batch that was distributed and make sure that the labels were well done. In the meantime, I just want you to appreciate the fact that in the next batch, we will give you a 40% discount or a 10% discount on the trouble that you've gone through to come back to us and tell us. Because you know what? Rems is not loyal to us. He's actually our advocate outside. If he's loyal to me, he's my advocate outside. So this is the mobile billboard that you want to look after, come rain, thunder, or sunshine.
Oh, okay, good. So the value buyer, right. The guy who's always looking for value.
So in the initial discussion, a value buyer, you must go back to the days when we used to negotiate for the proper bride price and the way our uncles used to do it. Because there, the bargain is about value. So the value buyer, when you are negotiating with them, don't focus on the price. That's critical, because that's already not in the mind. What is in the mind is the service or the product. So don't focus on what the price would be. So in the initial discussion, what you should focus on is discover the differences of the offering that you've got against your competitor. So if we use the metaphor of Lobola, for instance, before they tell you that our daughter is educated, our daughter went to Harvard, you tell them in advance that this is a proven young man who has not impregnated anybody. He is a deacon of the church or is the chief altar boy. He was also a head boy, blah, blah, blah. And currently, you know, he's serving in this board. He's a clean guy who looks after his image. We think that your daughter joining our family will enhance the value of our boy and also create a stronger union, looking at who your daughter is. You are already not talking about the price, but you are enticing everybody to say, man, we don't need to charge here. We are safe and secured with the future.
I'll tell you a story. So my coach, my sales coach said to me, as you negotiate with your client and you tell them about the service, and then you say to them, oh, I need to tell you this, by the way. I'm currently completing a book on the best SMEs and how they got out of trouble. And I'd like to include your story in my book.
Yeah.
So at that time, I've already told them what my service is worth. I'm now adding something on top to say, look, if you're interested, I can offer you this thing, but to be in my book doesn't cost you anything, but I can put you in my book. Suddenly the guy thinks, I'm gonna be in a book. He now forgets about the figure that I mentioned earlier. He when do we start? Because he wants to be in the book.
Exactly. You are setting yourself apart. You're actually mentioning point number 3. You are setting yourself apart from the next competitor because you've just shown your competitive edge that is of a reward to the consumer. So it's always important in that point of negotiations to say, by the way, I am aware that your daughter is not only proposed or looked or courted by my son. There are other suitors out there, but not all suitors are my son because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the same concept that we use. That's why I always argue, Mambo, customer service is a way of life. If we open our eyes to what happens to us every day, from the time we wake up in the morning to prepare ourselves, we will see how great negotiations and customer service work.
So, do I show my value buyer? Do I show them, a list of values that I'm adding to what they're getting for what they're paying for? So you're already paying for this bottle of whiskey. Do I then list to them that over and above what you pay me, these are all the other things that you do? Should I list all of them?
One of the greatest things that we started to do to add that part is to say, we are not only giving you an opportunity to purchase this bottle of whiskey, but guess what? We are also willing to get the brand ambassador to have a 2-minute call to explain in detail how this product was made, far beyond what you read in a shortened version that is written in its package. So it's important for you just to have an interaction with that brand ambassador. If need be, by the way, he can invite you for an experience one-on-one with him where you can get to know more about the product. It's going back to your point about the book. When a person starts to see a personality coming far across the service or the product, they now know what is the point of reference for the complaint, far beyond the person who's doing the same. That's why all of us, when we make a complaint, Mambo, we don't normally say, you sold me this product. We start by saying, I want to know who is in charge, who is the manager, who is the supervisor, because we want to personify our anger. Then the consumer, when he personifies the anger, you personify the service and you say, we can get you in touch with a person who can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get you to know the service or the product better. So it's important to highlight that list.
Okay, I got it. If people don't get it, I'm sure they'll ask questions. I've got it. So let's move on then to
Thank you.
This dribbling wizard called the poker player. This guy that I could never predict what I'm dealing with. How do I deal with this guy who wants to negotiate value and price at the same time with me? He wants, he's messing me up.
Let me be honest with you. Every time I come through to your program, I feel like I'm going to engage a poker player, because the level of information and the depth that you have in business makes me to think on my toes time and again. And that, guess who benefits at the end? Is the viewer on the platform right now. So I love the poker playing that you and I get to do on customer service. So in this case, it's important for me to always establish the value that I give and that you get ahead of time. So it's important, like you said yesterday, we spoke earlier. So it's important for us to bounce off this topic and to say, I feel it for my people. I trust it for my people. I think it will add value to my people, because we've bounced it earlier ahead of time. So it's important at all times to establish the value give ahead of time, and the customer gets to know, okay, this is what I am getting. Okay, because you must remember, this guy has got a sense of loyalty and he's got the sense of negotiating for the price, which actually tells you he wants the product. He just wants it at the value that he has determined himself. And he wants to be loyal with you because he's already inside that space. That's why we said he's a crossbreed between a relationship buyer and a value buyer. But he always wants to play clever because he thinks there's always space or room for negotiation. And you must always pre-plan your tactics that the poker player will use. That's why it's important for me, time and again, Mambo, to read what I'm going to present to you and still have a backup to check it time and again and rehearse it and say, you know what, I'm comfortable, I can explain it, I can add lib on it. So it's important, again, from that perspective as a consumer to do the same, a customer service provider.
I'm gonna ask you to repeat the last part where you spoke about pre-planning. I lost you for a second, and I think it's very important. You say it's very important to pre-plan and to make notes, yeah?
It's important to pre-plan and rehearse the tactics that you are going to use whenever you come across the poker player, right? And yes, you must also, like, I want to put this in a real environment. All these customers are not labeled. They walk into your space or they call in for your service, and then it's the intelligence you've gathered over time, like in sessions like this one, where you get to know, this is a relationship buyer, this is a poker player, so this is how I'm going to engage them. Because none of us will be labeled. I always am a poker player, by the way, whenever I get into any place. I might know how much the product is, but I always try and find my way out with the price. So pre-planning the tactics of handling me is important so that you have an appropriate response for each question that I throw, and sometimes act ahead of me and give me a moment to pause and say, oops, this guy has got me off guard, because these are the ways that I always have in advance. Like, for example,
Do you think
yeah,
I've ever asked you, do you think I've ever asked you a difficult question before?
the one that you've just asked is actually difficult, because
Well, then I'm gonna ask you a difficult question. If you think that one was difficult, now I'm about to ask you a difficult question. If I'm
yeah,
sitting with a person who wants to get value and good price from me,
yeah,
and I know I get to a point where there's only one I need to give up. I can't give up both. What do I
yeah.
give up? Do I give up value, or do I discount my price?
You always have to negotiate towards the value and don't lose your price, because your price keeps the business afloat. Value can be recaptured in time. You know, for instance, if I bought, let me give you an example. Why don't you think that we pay for the tomato sauce every time we get to go KFC and all these fast food restaurants, and they throw in salt and all of this? Why do you think we are not paying for them? Because they always say wings are $18.99. We are already paying there. But the concept of saying this is a chicken licking salt, this is a KFC salt, goes a long way for us, that we can even complain when they didn't give us, because we have a sense to think it's for free. So if you want to remove if you have a balance to strike between value and price, strip the value off. If you go to Nando's right now and they don't give you that butter for your rolls, you will call them, because they've stripped value. But if they strip price, you will always say, I think the quality of the chickens that they are using has dropped. Why are they willing to negotiate?
In fact, I know, I can tell you now, I've turned back to go and collect the serviette. Like, I know I paid for this thing. I gotta get a serviette. But okay, I'm
Precisely.
good. So I hear you. Try and keep your price, but don't drop your value.
Yeah, keep your price at all time, but don't just drop your value, because you are leading me to the next point, Mambo. It's important to always recognize that you have value. You and I are always in this. We are always in the space of social media. I've seen our sisters when they post and say, "Know your worth." I know my worth, and I always say that's a powerful statement, because it means you've evaluated. But my worry is that the way it is projected, it comes across as though your value is high. Knowing your worth does not make you expensive. It can also make you affordable. I didn't say cheap, but affordable. So
good. Okay, I don't want us to lose time.
Sure.
I wanted to get to the questions, because
yes,
we promised people to respond to their questions. Angel asked yesterday, I'm in construction, and most potential clients we try to attract tend to go the foreign cheap labor route and prefer to use them, as they think it's better to pay an individual than a company, and they see it cheaper. How can we change the mindset and gain them as our clients as we target estate homes?
Immediately when you say that, I know that their clients are poker players.
The price buyer.
Right there.
That's the price buyer.
And they have an interesting way to say, this I can get cheaper somewhere. So if you deal with a price buyer, we've just negotiated there that, okay, conduct extensive cost analysis on what you offer. You understand what I mean? So let me give you a perspective from a construction. I'm not in that industry, but I know that every builder needs to be qualified.
Yes.
Every company that is in construction is measured, I think it's NHRBC or something like that. So the level of compliance is the critical value proposition for your price. Because nobody wants a building that stands but will collapse on them. So if the issue is foreign, and I don't want to get into that space, but if the issue is the foreign or cheap labor, let me rather say cheap labor.
Cheap labor,
the question is, are they compliant? Because that's critical. We build buildings that stand the test of time. Even if you were to repair, it's paint. It's not walls cracking. So what we are doing is a work that is compliant with who audits us. And in the past, this is how we've been audited. That's it.
Her second question is about relationship. She says, does the history of how the business started count? Because other than that, we find it hard to create relationships with buyers.
Yes, yes. Your past in the relationship will always matter. So let me qualify it quickly and say in business. If you bought a
I
business,
think everywhere, yeah.
if you bought a business that was being failed by how it was managed, that's why it's important to emphasize the issue of being under new management. And when you say it's under new management, explain the experience that the new management has. Explain how they are compliant. So the history of a business will always be critical because, to be honest with you, we discussed yesterday and we always say it, Mambo, consumers don't buy a product. They buy, or they have a need to supply, and they have pedigree to lean on. They know who you are and they trust who you are. So if you bought Thami and Sons, who were building RDP houses, but out half of them were cracking, you can't be bidding for Sandton City. You've got to say Thami and Sons are under new management who have experience to build the Soccer City Stadium. You are now shifting the focus to say, oh, they bought the brand name, but the team is different. The makers are different. So it's important to always understand the business history, even if you were to acquire it, so that you can deal with it from a consumer interface perspective.
Lizo says, well, the first question of Lizo is answered. So Lizo, for the first question, I'm gonna refer you to yesterday's show. Please watch it. He says he wants to know which customer you're dealing with. Refer to yesterday's show. But the second question is important, and I'm gonna ask you to answer that question in exactly 30 seconds, please. What kind of customer should I build on the first time?
Always build on the relationship buyer. Loyalty. They tend to be your advocates.
And that's why you keep on coming back, because I build on a loyal customer. Coach, thank you, Mambo. I got it, and I'm sure the guys got it too.
In Malawian culture, Ziko Mogwambiri, thank you so much.
The good thing about this kind of content, folks, is that it lives out there. You can revisit it again and again and again. Just subscribe to our YouTube page and you can get this content in case you missed it. It lives on the net. It lives on the cloud. Long after Freddie is gone, it will survive. I'm going to bid you farewell, but I'm asking you not to switch off yet. Something amazing happened, something that we don't always find. We got a message of gratitude. And I thought I should share this message of gratitude from one of our followers, one of our viewers, one of the hustlers out there who sent us this message. So as I bid you good night, please watch this message. From me and Frederick, good night and God bless. I would not want to give an impression to people there that you're doing soda as a part-time thing. You're doing it as a hustle because you are still growing it, but ultimately you want it to be your main hustle.
Yes, we officially we only about a year old. We officially started a year ago, and we're still working on we investing on machinery. We need machines to clean up diamonds. We're still waiting for the license because we applied for the diamond license. So it's still a progress. We're still on baby steps to growing, but the reason why I'm working at 8 to 5 is because I need a whole lot of equipment for me to start a manufacturer.
Good day, Rams. I would like to take this opportunity to send my gratitude to you and your team on Talk with Rams Live for giving me a chance to say something about my jewelry brand called Soda by Bonye. I had since been contacted by a fashion designer from Durban who does annual fashion shows and asked me to showcase my work on his fashion shows, which is not going to be a once-off thing, but it's going to be an annual thing. For me, that's one of my biggest dreams come true. It has always been something that I had always dreamt of doing. It has always been a door that I had always dreamt of knocking on, but it's also one of the hardest doors to open. For you, having me in your show, the door has opened. You had made my dream come true. Also, I have 9 big orders that I'm working on ever since I had been on your show. what you had done for me has given me so much confidence. It has given me so much confidence in what I do, in the love I have for what I do, and so much confidence altogether. It has helped me grow. It's helping me look forward to growth. It's helping me look forward to so much more than what I had anticipated. I would like to say thank you to you, to Freddie, and all your team, and say thank you very much.